said it better. It's for the love of money. You know, they're opening charter schools, they're closing charter schools, they're throwing out kids from this school, throwing them to that school, and it doesn't have anything to do with education. 80% of RSD charter schools receive a letter grade of a D or F. 100% of the 100% of the direct run schools receive a letter grade of a D of an F. Why are they still educating our kids? Going on 8 years after Hurricane Katrina. Now, can you answer that?
Like you said, it's not only for the love of money, but if we want to know about people that are in our community and why they're here, I ask you first to follow the money. Look for those federal dollars that are coming into our school systems and follow where it's going. I mean, you take something as simple as what they call the master plan, this brainchild of how we're going to rebuild the schools of New Orleans.
It's called the what?
The master plan. And if you really look up and say, well, who came up with the master plan? Once again, I direct you back to that article that I told you about that you can Google. I hope you wrote it down. But in that master plan, the school facilities master plan was started by Bingler Concordia, an organization that is led by Sarah Usden's brother-in-law. See, we have to know what we're talking about when we start talking about who's coming up with what, why are they even here, what's their interest. Sarah Usden is not even from this country, but she has started new schools from New Orleans, TFA, TNPT, BNOB, NSNO, OSPB. Now she's on the Board of Education. How does a person go from a charter organization to get on the board? She truly didn't have any grassroots support, and this is money.
And man, I watched her behavior at the Orleans Parish School Board. That girl is arrogant.
Well, regardless of being arrogant, I really look at the actions of those board members who, once again, decided that board policy was not important.
Okay, and let's take this call. Mary, line 3. Mary?
Yes, how you all doing this afternoon?
We're good, Mary. How you doing?
I'm doing good. I've been hearing so much about the school system since Katrina, and what I want to say is, you know, I don't know if you all seen this movie with Sister Tyson played in, that she got tired of the school system the way it was and opened up her own school.
Right.
Now, the Nation of Islam educate their own children.
Okay.
Why can't we just pull our children out of these schools and start educating them ourselves? Why can't we do that? We got churches all over the city that's shut tight every day in the week. We got retired teachers. Why can't we just do this and pull away from them? Because, I mean, why would the oppressor make things better for you when you're seeing what he's done to you already? I mean, we don't need to keep going through with this.
And I agree with you. Now, it brings me back to my opening statement. Coming together is just the beginning. And, you know, thank you for your call.
Thank you, Mary.
Staying together is a process. Working together is success. We having problems coming together because they have too many people have their own personal agenda. And it's not so much about educating our kids. Not only the white people do not care about us, and not all of them, but some of them don't. Some of us don't even care about us. And I think Captain Black is about to come in, but let me go on and say what you got to say.
I kind of want to chime in on what Mary's talking about, and I applaud any organization or group within our community that decides to start their own schools. But the type of venture capital that be needed, the type of facilities that would be needed for those type of endeavors, they're already in place. The infrastructure is here. It makes no sense for us to reinvent the wheel. It makes no sense for us to acquiesce and give up those resources that have already been paid for, duly paid for, by the citizens of this community. We have people in our community that have fought, died, bled, gone to jail, given up all kind of rights and privileges just so that we can have our own school system to educate our kids. But for us to walk away from it and just simply say, oh, well, you know, we're just going to walk away from it. Yes, take the kids out of the school, but don't take them out of school to say that we don't want the schools anymore. Those buildings and facilities are to be used by our community and not to be walked away from.
You know, and I agree with that. That's why I think we need to recall Nolan. We need to get you, if not you, someone like you on it in his place so we can get majority of the board, get our schools back, even the ones that have been turned over to RSD. The retired teachers that she's talking about, if they still can teach, we need to bring them back to work and pay them. Because this has been going on too long, not only in New Orleans, in Chicago. People talk about the murder rate, in Chicago, and the murders that have been committed, and that's Captain Black's specialty. And my thing is, because our kids are not being properly educated, they're being pushed through the system, and now they're on the street. They realize that they can't read, write, do arithmetic, and they're in the survival mode, and they're doing any and whatever they have to do in order to survive. That's why we as a people need to come together. We need to stay together, and we need to start working together. Captain Black, how you doing, brother?
Have no fear, Captain Black is here. How are we doing today?
How was Baton Rouge?
Baton Rouge was very, very interesting. I had the occasion to attend the Justice for Trayvon rally there. And I want you to put on your seatbelts, folks, because this may be painful for some. It's despicable that a political party to which the majority of black people have given their allegiance would use the death of a young man as a get-out-the-vote rally and neglect to tell people that George Zimmerman, the man acquitted for killing Trayvon Martin, is a registered Democrat, voted for Obama, and lobbied his family to vote for Obama, too. Folks, we need to be very careful about how much, quote, faith, which should only be reserved for God, we put in man-made institutions. The Democrats do not necessarily love us. The Republicans do not necessarily love us. But we must be very strategic about whom we place our votes in. And I was very disappointed to just see a state Democratic Party official get up there, make a few cursory mentions of Trayvon Martin, keep talking about, well, the solution to all this is just to elect more Democrats. And I'm thinking the same type of Democrats that grassroots activists like the men in this room and others listening cannot ever get a return phone call from, cannot get an appointment with. Those Democrats don't know if these are the people we really need to elect. I thought today was supposed to be a day to talk about Trayvon Martin and whether or not racial profiling has made a grand return in American society. That's what I thought today was about. Let's go to the phones. Chad, welcome to the never-ending struggle with Captain Black.
How you doing, sir?
Pretty well, brother. How you doing?
Man, I went through a lot today, but hearing you talk is boisterous. But yeah, that's despicable how the Democrats trying to push this agenda. And even though Obama spoke honestly about race, which I agree with some points, a lot of points, he's still doing this to get rid of the guns and to make the people feel sad. So, do you agree?
And let me ask you something. An audience, I want you to consider. We know that the South has always been, and that's where the majority of our people arrived in America. The South has always been a pro-gun part of the country. That's no big newsflash. We know that Democrats have been pushing gun control legislation. The homicides are committed by who? People pulling triggers. Okay, we got all that. But in Chicago, with the most stringent, in Washington, D.C., with the most stringent gun control laws, guess who has all the guns? The thugs have all the guns. Now, does that mean that grandma, grandpa, your wife, your children need to just hold up their hands? Oh, no, I'm sorry. What did Joe Biden say? Blow a whistle against somebody who usually has a high-capacity weapon? I mean, folks, we need to be very clear that our lives and our property are just as valuable as anybody else's. And Chad, let me ask you, when I hear people using days like this to push repeal stand your ground laws, and granted, we've got a case in that same jurisdiction where George Zimmerman was acquitted, Marissa Alexander, beaten by her spouse at that time while she was pregnant. She fired a warning shot, did not shoot at the man, a warning shot to keep someone much stronger than her from attacking her, and got 20 years in prison for it. Now,
there's actually more to the story on that.
Oh, I know.
Oh, you know. Okay.
Oh, no, yeah, I know. But that's just that bare account is what people use to rebut, well, how can Zimmerman get acquitted and somebody else can just shoot a warning shot and get 20 years in prison? So I understand that the stand your ground laws are a very controversial issue, made all the more controversial because of this young man's death. But do you think that if you swept all the stand your ground laws off the books, and disarmed all the private citizens, would you, as a black man, feel safer?
Hell no.
Okay.
Not at all.
And, all right, gentlemen?
No, sir.
Okay, all right then. I think we have a consensus. Maybe somebody ought to send an email to the local Democratic committees and say, Negroes don't want to be disarmed any more than our white counterparts.
Exactly.
Sometimes, Captain Black, I believe we get
Thank you, Chad.